Hello everyone, let's try this again. I'm not sure what was going on. I know that some of you said you could hear me and some of you said you could not. Again, I'm using OBS, so there's a couple different stream settings to use, so I don't know. We'll see if that helps, but hopefully you guys find me over here. Looks like you guys are commenting on my chat is now open to everyone. Okay, I didn't put that, but whatever. Hey, Just Steph. Hey, Sophia. Cute cupcake. I love cupcakes. They're my favorite. And cake. Hey, Justice. I will also move closer to my microphone and see if that helps. I don't want to be like screaming in your ears, so. Hey, Jingle. You found me. Yep, I'm back. Sorry about the sound. I don't know what was going on. Hey, Mark. Thank you. Thank you for noticing. I did change it. I lightened it up a little bit, and I also did change my shirt. Finally. I beat Chris Watts in the record for wearing the same shirt the same day, or a certain amount of days in a row. Hey, Sugar Aunt. Good to see you. Even though I know you're being sarcastic, Mark. But thank you for complimenting me on my new cartoon hairstyle. Oh, that's okay, Jingle. I had that issue before on D Live, and so I wasn't sure if that was the same thing that was going on or not. Hey, Kristen. Hello, Tiger Girl. Thanks for being here, everyone. What's the word on YouTube streets now? What do you mean, Sugar Ant? What isn't the word? The bird is the word? I don't know. That's a hilarious Family Guy episode, by the way, though. If you haven't seen it, you should check it out. It's pretty funny. Sophia says, but to answer your question, in the title, no, they picked the more popular and acceptable opinion. Well, that says it all. Stream's over. That was easy. No, I agree, Sophia, 100%. But that's what we're going to talk about a little bit. I never know what to name. I was going to put some stupid title like I tend to. I don't like to be too original. So, hey, Matt. Everybody knows that the bird is the word. It's funny too because Peter in Family Guy, I think it's, I can't remember if it's oh my gosh, I'm having a Space Cadet moment. What's her name? The wife. Not Brian. I can't remember if it's Brian or oh my god, I can't even remember it right now. But anyways, he goes and pokes their nose. He's like, everybody knows that the bird is the word. And they're just like completely pissed off because he keeps singing that same song over and over and over again in the episode. So it's kind of an annoying episode, but it's hilarious. Lois, thank you. I swear this case is making me crazy. I say it makes everybody else crazy, but I think it might be making me crazy as well. On a different level. So I don't know if you guys have heard. It's not like it's the big word on the street. It's not the bird. The bird is the word. But I may have caused a little bit of a scene the other day that I'm not proud of. But I think I was just pretty much fed up with just being censored, pretty much on the majority of channels. I don't go on a lot of channels, but let's say that, let me put it this way. I've been, for the past almost 3 years now, coming up, not voice my opinion like I would have liked to. I have always been nothing but respectful, in my opinion, to people who have been, or anyone who has been affected by this case emotionally, or affected in just any way. And I finally got fed up, and I finally stuck up for myself, because I think for the most part I'm a pretty good person, and I think I'm just not going to let anybody take advantage of that, I guess. Although I do feel like I should have bowed out gracefully, like I usually do, but however, I didn't. Not because I didn't want to stick up for myself, or not because I didn't think it was right, but because just out of respect for the channel creator, I should have bowed out gracefully and dealt with it, or that person who decided to, not dealt with, like I'm all tough, but either contacted that person personally or whatever. But again, I mean, there's no excuse for it, but that was back to back, 2 nights in a row, or one night, or the night before that, and then during the day, during that live stream, that I'd been censored by my fellow true crime enthusiasts, even though I really don't really consider myself one, because I don't really, I mean, I do follow true crime, but I mean, you guys know what I'm saying. I've said that before, explained it. Yeah, right, Mark. But like I said, if I spoke my mind like I wanted to for the past 3 years, and all of these other channels that I have engaged in, I would probably pretty much be banned from every true crime channel out there. But like I was saying, I did not. And it just goes to show, or just pretty much proves, that whenever you speak of anything that someone doesn't agree with, or their cognitive dissonance gets in the way, or they're in this little bubble that they don't seem to want to get out of, then you get attacked for it. And that's why a lot of people are, I do speak out about it, but I have been not as transparent as I should be, or should have been. Hey, Michelle. I hope you had a great birthday. I'm sorry I had to leave your stream. Hey, Anthony. Hello, Jody. Thanks for being here. I don't remember what I was saying. I'm terrible at that. But pretty much when you go against others' beliefs, or anything that they don't want to hear, you get attacked. And when there's especially lately, a couple of my, hey Vincina, good to see you. There's been a couple of my subscribers that have said, hey, like I'm starting to see your theory more and more. And I do agree with a lot of what you say. But however, I don't feel comfortable speaking out or whatever. And it's totally understandable. I get it. Because like I said, when you do, you get attacked. And it's not fun. Like, like I said, the one time I stick up for myself, it's like, I'm just a terrible person. And I just don't, that's just not the case. So I did apologize in a comment to that specific channel creator, because again, that's not the person I am. I don't behave that way normally, or do I act that way, but I've realized that being respectful and not coming out and saying what I really want to say it's not getting me anywhere. It's not getting you guys anywhere. It's just wasting time. So pretty much either way, it's like a lose-lose, because if you're respectful, then nobody gets it. And then if you're upfront about it, then you're just rude and you're just a terrible person and a crazy conspiracy theorist. So it's tough. It's tough. And again, it's not because I didn't feel like I should have stuck up for myself. It was nothing that specific channel creator did. It was one of her moderators. And apparently, if you're a channel creator, you have to say, in my opinion, after everything. That's apparently the rules. I didn't know that there was rules. It's not in the YouTube guidelines. But if you're just a viewer in the chat and you're not a channel creator, you don't have to say, in my opinion, after every single thing you say and every opinion that you make. I'm not here to set an example. I'm not, I'm here to expose the truth. And if people want to keep silencing me, then fine. That's what I have my channel for, I guess. And I don't need to go and voice my opinions on other channels. I really don't. And it's not even just about having an opinion. Like, I personally feel like I have found enough, I don't want to say proof, but enough evidence to support my theory to where I don't have to say in my opinion. And it's like, so if I wasn't a channel creator, could I go in and say that this case was fake? Could I say that nobody died? Could I, I don't see anybody else getting muted or timed out. Muted is DLive. Timed out or banned or blocked from the channel for, accusing Nicole Kessinger of murder. Like, I get it. Nobody likes Nicole Kessinger. Yes, did she lie to law enforcement? Yes, did she show no empathy or emotion for the victims based off the official narrative? Of course. I don't like her at all either, right? But that's for a different reason. And it's nothing, my theory is different because I'm not emotionally attached to this case. And again, it's not because I'm a terrible person or I don't have like feelings or empathy towards victims. But when I know and I can clearly see the agenda behind this case, or agendas, I should say, I don't have to have empathy or any sort of, it totally changes things. And personally, I don't think that anybody should, in true crime, I'm still, maybe I'm confused about what true crime's all about, but it seems like a lot of the people, or the majority of people in true crime, are so emotionally invested in these cases, but yet they try and figure out the inconsistencies or figure out what's wrong, or why there's a cover-up, or why something that law enforcement did or didn't do. But when you have emotions attached to it, like, you're not going to be able to see facts. You're not going to be able to see evidence. When you're emotionally invested in it, when emotions are involved, like, all logic goes out the window. So, like, I don't know if this is like a good example, but for instance, if you're a detective, right? If you're a homicide detective and you walk into a murder scene, right? A homicide scene, and you see that it's a woman and a child, and let's say that that detective has a wife and kids, and they feel like they're getting too emotionally attached to that case, what they would need to do, the best thing for themselves and for the case, would be to go to their superior and say, hey, look, I don't think that I can really do my job at 100%, because I do feel like, considering that I have, since I have kids, and I just feel like it would conflict with my job, and I wouldn't be able to do and see all the evidence for what it is. I'm gonna miss evidence because I'm too emotionally, attached to the victims in this case. So you're gonna have like tunnel vision, and you're gonna miss so much evidence and so much facts. And when all you think about is, I loathe Nicole Kessinger. I want her to, pay for what she did, but what did she do besides literally, based off the official narrative, sleep with a married man, right? There's no evidence to back up that she murdered anybody. And with true crime, I don't care what anyone says. Everything that we are told is based off of hearsay. And anybody can argue with that. I don't care if you talk to the families, it's still hearsay. I don't care if you read it in the Discovery, it's still hearsay. I don't care if the mainstream media told you, it's still hearsay. There's not one single thing in this case that anybody can prove to me beyond a reasonable doubt that it actually physically happened. Don't come to me, please, and tell me that there are people in those graves. I don't care if that sounds disrespectful or not. Logically, were you there? Are you one of those victims? Not that you could prove that to me if you were, but were you in those caskets? No. Is that your immediate family member that you know and you actually physically watched get buried and put in those coffins? Were you the gravedigger they wouldn't even know? How do they even know if there's bodies in there? They just did their job. They put caskets into the ground. How do we know for a fact? I don't care how crazy it seems. It's not crazy at all. How do we know that anybody was actually buried? How do we know that Nicole Kessinger and Chris Watts ever even had an affair? Why? Because law enforcement showed us a couple emails between the two? Or because law enforcement told us that they were having an affair and sleeping together 6 times a day? How do we know that actually happened? Everything in true crime is based off of hearsay. We're just believing everything we're told because I have a lot of evidence to support my theory, Justice. If you've watched my videos, you'll know that. I can't do all the research for everyone. I'm limited to what I can show on here. The proof is in the patterns. I can only give you this information, and what you guys want to do with it, that's on you. I'm not here to sway your opinions or to tell you this is what it is or that's what it is. I try not to get emotional as far as like me getting emotional based off of just being frustrated for trying to expose this case for what it is for 3 years. Are my videos on? Yes, my videos are on YouTube. I have an entire playlist of my videos. I haven't uploaded videos in a long time, but just like, my point is, what evidence does anybody have that anything that we're told in this case specifically, or any case for that matter, or anything that we're told ever by the mainstream media and the government, how do we know for a fact that anything that we've been told is true? I hear so many times that people say, oh, Shanann's flight was delayed. Why wasn't there airport footage? Do you think that just because someone gives you, or law enforcement gives you, a flight number, does that actually mean that Shanann Watts was on that flight, on that Southwest Airlines flight from Phoenix to Denver? No, it doesn't. It doesn't prove anything. So call me crazy for not believing anything that we're told in this case. And not only that, but if the majority of the true crime community has come to agreement that law enforcement has lied about many, many things in this case, like an overwhelming amount of things, and nothing adds up, if they've lied about that, then what else could they be capable of lying to us about? Hey, Aaron. I mean, seriously. If they have lied about so many things in this case, what else are they capable of lying about? You can see an earpiece, really? In Amanda Thayer's ear? I'd love to see that. I wouldn't doubt it. Yeah, pretty much, Michelle, our I feel like our entire lives have been based off of a lie. Like, my point is, until you were physically at, unless you were physically at Nutgate, if you are an immediate family member, you do not, or a part of the case, even then you wouldn't even know if for a fact if it was, true. I mean, that's my challenge for anyone. Please, if anyone can give me one example and prove something to me beyond a reasonable doubt, something that we've been told in this case is actually true. If whatever I just said makes sense, but it sounded good in my head. Prove to me that her cell phone really pinged at this time or time. Like, anything can be, any document can be doctored. That makes sense again. I swear. Maybe I should just not do this. I don't think I'm good at this streaming thing. I think I just realized. But it's just very hard for me to explain things. Like, in my head, it makes sense. Totally. But when I try to explain it to someone else or, to you guys, it just comes out all whack. Hey, Shani. Dr. Turdman's. Wait, who won a trophy? Nuck and Futz? For what? I missed it. It's like, the cognitive dissonance thing. Whenever when you tell someone something that they've believed for 3 years, the cognitive dissonance is a huge factor. Because they're going to come up with every excuse in the book as to why what you're telling them is not even capable of being true whatsoever. Because it doesn't support their narrative. It doesn't support their own opinions. Everyone, I feel like with true crime, it doesn't matter. I don't think anybody is really truly looking at the facts. They want the outcome that they want, right? So whether or not you want Chris to be guilty, or you want Nicole Kessinger to be guilty, or you want Troy McCoy to be guilty, or you want everyone to be guilty, like, see, this is a perfect example. If I was on StreamYard, I would put Kelly's comment on the screen. Why are we crazy? Why are we crazy for questioning the official narrative and asking questions and not believing everything we're told? Yeah, we're the crazy person. I'd rather be crazy and a conspiracy theorist and think for myself and think critically and not walk around and live my life in a bubble for the rest of my life. Oh, Shani, I'm so sorry. I love you. Hey, Alexis. Probably, Aaron. Probably. I'm so confused. Why did you get it? Congratulations on winning a trophy, Nuck and Futz. I'm not sure how that happened, but congratulations. So again, it's why am I being censored for simply asking questions and for saying, if I think that this case was orchestrated, if I think it was a hoax, if I don't think anyone died, why am I not allowed to say that? Why am I not allowed to give my opinions? Sorry that I don't believe everything that I'm told, unless I know for a fact it's true. Again, I challenge anyone who wants to call me crazy to give me one example and prove to me that anything in this case, or at least one thing in this case, it actually did indeed happen. I highly doubt you can. And again, I don't want to hear that it's from the family members told me, or law enforcement told me, or I read it in the Discovery. You're basing all your evidence around a document that could be easily be just written up by anybody. Okay, I'll check the replay, Nuck and Futz. I always do, so. David Icke uses the Hegelian dialect against his own sheeple. I'm not sure what you mean, humanimal. Because that's, now that you bring it up, that's exactly what they're doing. They are using the Hegelian dialect. Look at what they're doing with the Summer Wells case. That I've seen on several mainstream media videos where they're saying that people on social media are making up lies, spreading disinformation, and causing more issues towards the case for law enforcement. And now they're even saying that the parents, like Donald and Candace, they're being harassed, they're being threatened. Where did we see that before, you guys? Where have we heard that over and over and over again? Oh, that's right, from the Ruseks. The Ruseks, who are supposed to be victims, who have contradicted themselves many, many times. But nobody calls them out on their bullshit. Why is it that just because you're a victim, why is it okay that you're allowed to contradict yourself over and over again? Why are you allowed to talk down to people? People who, in the true crime community, who have done nothing but actually try to help you and get justice for your family. And rub it in people's face and say, oh, We know way more than you do. You're never going to know as much as we do. You know what happens every time they show their faces on social media? All it does is make people want to talk about the case more. When they just got done saying, we don't want people talking about the case. The case is closed. Moved on. Well, then stop showing your faces on social media. And I'm going to really try not to go into the Rusex because it pisses me off to my core. It really does. I don't care. Call me a terrible person. Call me heartless. Call me disrespectful. I don't care. I'm not here to be respectful anymore. I'm sorry. I've been respectful for 3 years, and it's wasted a lot of my time and a lot of your time that are here to listen to what I have to say. I'm here to expose the truth about this case because I've been researching these cases and for the past few years. And again, I had no idea that they were doing it in the true crime community. Well, I'm beginning to think that the true crime community is all it's the fake crime community. It really is. They're trying to induce fear onto people. Fear is a big factor for a lot of these psyops and a lot of these orchestrated events. The best way to control people is with fear, and people thrive on fear. And yes, I use the word thrive, but they really do. And again, why is it okay for people to make claims that Chris chloroformed Shanann, or that Shanann killed her own kids? I'm not even saying that. I'm not even saying that at all. I'm not accusing anybody of murder. I simply say that I think it's orchestrated to push multiple agendas with evidence to back it up. Whether people want to see it or not for what it really is, then that's on them. So I'm not even accusing anybody of murder, yet I'm being attacked for my opinions and for my theory. And it's hard for me, and I understand that people want to know my theory, but you're talking about 3 years of just information after information that I have made videos about. Please go check out my other videos that I've uploaded because we would be here all night. There's a couple live streams ago, or a few live streams ago, there was a person in chat that was asking great questions. The first question, it just so happened to be a really great question, and they wanted to know what would be the agenda or agendas behind orchestrating this event. It took up almost the entire stream, and it was almost 3 hours long. So if you want to know my theory, then please go check out my other live streams. But there's just so much detail that, again, I would be here all night. I'm not sure what you mean, humanimal. What, Cindy Watts exists? I'm not sure if you're saying that I said that she doesn't, but I know that these people exist. I know that they're real people. That doesn't mean that they are not a part of it to push some sort of agenda. What specifically, Justice, do you want to know? And I have no problem explaining it, as long as it doesn't take the entire stream. Pride or Honesty, I don't. It was a few streams ago. I would have to look for it. Two reasons why I think this is a false flag. One, because I'm aware of orchestrated events, I'm aware of false flags, and in these orchestrated events, false flags, psyops, they will use the same itinerary, characteristics, whatever you want to call them, in pretty much all of them. Now, they're going to be a little bit different depending on the event. You're going to have specific ones that are going to cater to that event. They're all going to have multiple agendas, because they're not going to go through all that trouble to potentially gain only one. With these orchestrated events, the reason for doing them, by going out of their way to orchestrate everything, is because they have to trick us in order to get us to willingly give up our rights. So they can't just come out and say, with these mass shootings, with these terrorist attacks, they can't just come out and say, hey, you know what? We don't like the fact that you have guns and that you're able to protect yourself and your family from an intruder or anything else, or from whatever, from any harm, right? So how about you just go ahead and give up those guns that you've had, that's been in the Constitution for years, right? It would never work. They know that. It would never work. You can't just come out and tell the public that you're going to just take away their God-given rights, right? So what they have to do, as mentioned by Humanimal earlier, is they use something called the Hegelian dialectic. It's called problem reaction solution, and yes, David Icke does talk about it. It's a Hegelian dialectic, and how it works is they create the problem. We then react to that problem. We don't think, we just react with our emotions, and we say, oh my God, do something about these terrorist attacks, about these school shootings, about these victims' family members being harassed and tormented and being sent death threats. Do something about all these terrible things happening. So we turn to them for a solution, not realizing that they were the ones who actually created the problem in the first place. And by doing that, in comes the solution, which would be taking away our rights. Problem, reaction, solution, Hegelian dialectic. And again, with each one of these orchestrated events, it doesn't matter what it is. They use the same itinerary every single time throughout them. And that's how, once you know about them, you will be able to spot them fairly easily. There's usually, probably all the time, there's always going to be some sort of occult symbolism involved, and the truth is in the patterns. So it's just, I don't even know where to start when someone asks me a question like that, because it's not just one thing. It's not just one thing that has led me to my theory, or to the conclusion that I have about this case. But regardless of anything, nobody should believe anything they're told just because they were told it. It doesn't matter who it's from. It doesn't matter if it's from me, from law enforcement, from the President of the United States. Why would anybody just believe everything they're told? Simply why? Because they're a higher authority, because they're the mainstream media, and they're supposed to get more. They're supposed to be have more information than any of us do. Why would anybody believe anything that they're told? As crazy as that sounds, it's really not that crazy. Everything should be taken with a grain of salt until you can prove it. and vet the information for yourself. But the majority of time, you can't do that, and they know that. I'll tell you what, Justice, I made a video where I went over all the red flags on this case. Not all of them. I didn't add all of them. I'll post it in the description. It's about a 25-minute video. I highly suggest that you check out that video. It's very informative, and it will definitely save me a lot of time. Or better yet, why don't I just play it right now? Hopefully it doesn't buffer, though. I'm sure it's going to be repetitive to some of you, but why not? And then we can discuss it. It might take a minute because my computer's slow, just so you know. Truth, please consult a doctor before viewing this video. If you choose not to seek the advice of a medical professional and you develop any of the previously mentioned ailments or symptoms, the channel creator is not liable in any way, shape, or form. The purpose of this video is not intended to be disrespectful towards anyone that may have been affected by this case. Before I go any further, I have just one request. Please try to remember that most of us are here because we want and deserve to know the truth. In order to find the answers, you need to be willing to look at all the possibilities and scenarios, whether you agree with them or not. It's been well over a year, and people are still baffled at the amount of information released to the public on the Watts case. The information included discovery documents, body cam footage, 911 calls, and audio interviews of friends and coworkers. Also included were pointless videos such as the retrieval of the family dog and law enforcement escorting a family member of the accused to a nearby hotel. What makes the Watts case different from every other high-profile murder case? Many in the true crime community are fully aware that the investigation, or lack thereof, is full of holes, while others are accusing them of being crazy conspiracy theorists with their talk of accomplices, explosions, and cover-ups. But can you blame them? If we are seeking answers but are unable to get them from the most promising source, it's human nature to want to find the answers in whichever way possible. However, these questions still remain unanswered to this day. It's no secret that the government, the mainstream media, and the elite have and still do lie to the public for their selfish gain, whether it be to install fear, pass laws, push propaganda, etc. Therefore, it is important to remember this as you are watching this video. There are common characteristics that you can look for to indicate deception. Knowing them can help determine whether or not certain events are real or an orchestrated act designed to fool the public. It is still not certain where the murders actually took place. Did they occur in the house, the truck, the oil site, all of the above? How can you investigate a crime scene, take photos, and forensic samples if they don't know where the murders happened? I know what you're thinking. What about Survey 319? Survey 319 would be considered the secondary crime scene because it is related to the crime but not where the actual crime took place. Or is it? This is done on purpose to ultimately confuse and misdirect. In the past, autopsy and crime scene photos have been released or leaked in high-profile murder cases. John Benet Ramsey, Travis Alexander, and Sharon Tate, just to name a few. In the Watts case, there were no crime scene photos besides the dirt grave and a couple of items that Chris left at the oil site. Sure, there were photos taken in the house as well. However, I'm talking about real crime scene DNA evidence such as blood, hair, skin, or bodies. Something that indicates a murder or even a crime was actually committed. There were no autopsy photos of a hand, foot, or even an x-ray released in the Watts case. The autopsies also appeared to be incomplete. One example is the blank diagrams that were included with the discovery. When it is a confirmed homicide, the coroner must perform a full and complete autopsy on a victim. This is a major red flag when investigators fail to show any proof of deceased victims or an actual crime scene. If a suspect ends up dead, there was no trial, or the case was quickly closed, this is another major red flag. For example, in the Las Vegas shooting, Stephen Paddock allegedly committed suicide by shooting himself in the mouth right before SWAT entered his hotel room, even though images show he also had what appeared to be a bullet wound to his chest. This is extremely convenient since you can't put a person on trial who is dead. This means no witnesses, evidence gathering, autopsy photos, or ballistic reports. Having a trial would only bring out inconsistencies that contradict the official narrative. We know that Chris did not ask for a lawyer, confessed after only 4 hours of being interrogated, if that's what you want to call it, and although law enforcement only had circumstantial evidence against him, he agreed to a plea deal, and roughly 3 months after the murders, the case was closed, which is exceptionally fast. Again, it's better to close the case quickly in order to avoid any inconsistencies that would contradict the official narrative. Not only that, but it makes District Attorney Michael Rourke look good and gets him another conviction in his bucket by putting the alleged murderer behind bars. At the same time, he also saves the taxpayers a ton of money and makes it appear as though he has the public's best interest in mind. If you are left with more questions than answers, this is another red flag. In the Las Vegas shooting, Sheriff Joe Lombardo was asked about an inconsistency in the official timeline of events by an independent journalist at a press conference. Lombardo seems immediately annoyed and refuses to take her question. During press conferences, journalists are usually only allowed to ask scripted questions that only follow the official narrative.
Asked, but we got one exchange that I want to play now.
I appreciate what you're saying, Ken. Ma'am, that's not how we conduct this service, okay? If I'm presented with a question... Because the FBI has reported that's not how I conduct press conferences, ma'am. Has the official timeline changed? Please stop asking your question. There's a decorum that we have here.
In the Watts case, the inconsistency with Nicole Kessinger's deleted search history was brought to Rourke's attention. When asked to explain, he said, "The dates to which you are referring in 2017, where it appears that she Googled or otherwise searched Shanann, was data that came off of her phone. It is not a typographical error in the report. The detectives are reporting what was contained in the data from her phone. I don't know the answer to the question or why or how those dates ended up in her phone. We did not get to the point in our investigation of attempting to independently verify that or not because Chris Watts pled guilty. My job is to investigate and prosecute who is responsible for the deaths of Shanann, Bella, Celeste, and Nico. We have done that. I have no information nor any belief that any other criminal defendant is out there who is responsible for their death in any way, shape, or form. I have absolutely no reason to investigate Nicole Kessinger at this point in time," he said. "This is not a witch hunt."
The girlfriend you referenced in court, can you give us a better idea of her role in the investigation, how forthcoming she was, and how she helped?
She originally came forward and spoke to investigators on her own volition. Prior to the time, unfortunately, that she came in and spoke with investigators, she had deleted all of the information off of her phone that had any connection between her and Chris Watts. That hampered the investigation. That hampered our ability to get that electronic digital connection between the two. She was interviewed on multiple occasions. I believe that for the most part she was forthcoming in the course of those investigations. We don't have any reason to believe that she had any prior knowledge or involvement in the death of Shanann, Bella, Celeste, and Nico. I think that's the best
want to stop it right there because he claims that hindered their attempt to further the investigation into Nicole Kessinger. He's full of shit. Rourke's full of shit. Well, we all know that. But he's really full of shit when it comes to recovering data off of Nicole Kessinger's phone. The reason why I know that is because I did extensive research on it, and I also made a video, 2 videos on it. One that goes into full detail, the technical side of it, and one just straight to the point for those of you who are not really that tech savvy. They didn't bother. They didn't bother to even try to recover the text messages from her phone. And what's funny is you don't need Celebrite or XRY software to recover deleted text messages from an iPhone, especially considering, and I won't go into too much detail about this, but it's important, and I just wanted to bring it up while he mentioned that, because it's another reason why I've come to this conclusion. There's many, many reasons, and that's why it's not that I don't want to answer anyone's questions, but when it's so broad like that, so what's your theory? There's so much to my theory. It's not just one thing. I'm not just saying, oh, shit doesn't add up, so that must mean that it's orchestrated. That's not what I'm saying at all. I have spent almost 3 years delving into that discovery, and I've done as much research, if not more, than anybody else. So if anybody tells me that I haven't, then they're also full of it because I've spent many, many hours researching this case. So but no, they didn't even bother to try to recover text messages. Oh, and what I was saying is you don't need all that fancy software to recover deleted data from a phone, especially when Nicole Kessinger was willing to give them her passcode. Now, if she would have gone to great lengths to actually scrub it or wipe the phone, then yeah, it might have been a little difficult. Not impossible, but it would have been more difficult. But we know that she did not delete all the contents from her phone. She only deleted what was between her and Chris Watts. So that being said, I know that she did not use any sort of bleach bit or whatever, or reset her phone and completely wipe the data from her phone. And again, I have to go with what I was just saying. How do we believe anything? How do we believe that she even did that? We don't. We really don't. But I can prove that what Rourke is saying here is incorrect and wrong based off what they said in their own discovery. So he's saying that they weren't able to get it, right? Because she deleted it. Now again, she willingly gave them her passcode. If her iPhone was locked and she said, no, you have to get a search warrant, and I'm not going to give you my passcode, that would have been probably very difficult to, and now it's not impossible, but it's getting better and better. The Celebrite and the mobile forensic software is getting much more advanced. Now, iPhone does have a strict policy when it comes to helping FBI and the privacy of their, and respecting the privacy of their customers, right? But again, they didn't have to go in there and actually try to break into the phone, to where, for example, if they found a suspect's phone and it had the passcode lock on it, they didn't have to do that. They had everything available to them. There was no reason why they could not recover that information from her phone. Let's just say a 5-year-old kid in his parents' basement wouldn't need to use forensic mobile software to recover Nicole Kessinger's data from her phone. And when you delete something off your phone, so just remember this, if you're ever trying to hide anything from a boyfriend or whatever, I'm not saying that that's how you guys are, but when you delete something, it's never actually really deleted. What happens is when you delete it, it goes into, I say the catacombs of your phone. So it's not actually deleted. It's just in the unallocated space, to where unless you are an IT person or you know what you're doing or you know where to look inside the phone, your typical phone owner would not be able to find that deleted data. So it will sit there in that unallocated space until it has to make room for new data, and that's when it'll get wiped, depending on how much memory you have left on your phone. So kind of similar to on your desktop computer or your laptop, when you delete something, it goes into your recycle bin. Now, it'll sit there in your recycle bin until you actually manually delete all that documentation or whatever files that you deleted off your computer. Compared to with your phone, it will sit there in that unallocated space or that recycle bin, if you want to call it that, until it needs to make room for new data. So considering that Nicole Kessinger only deleted that information based off the official narrative now, of course, she only deleted it a few days prior to going to law enforcement, it's highly unlikely that that data would have been overwritten. Now, if it would have been a couple of months prior to that, there's a good possibility it would have been overwritten. And that's why we didn't receive any of her deleted data, because it goes in that unallocated space. Now the reason, or the text messages. Now the reason why we got her deleted search history is because when you delete internet search history, like off of Chrome or whatever browser you use, that doesn't go into the unallocated space or the catacombs of your phone. So it's very easy to recover. So if we know that law enforcement didn't use less invasive ways to recover her text messages. They could have looked on her cloud. They could have made her reset her Google password. And we know that Matt Saylor didn't even make her do that because they said, oh, haha, you don't remember your password? Okay, we have something else we can try. Like, really? Matt Saylor, you're supposed to be the IT guy, and you're not even going to try to attempt to have this woman recover her Google password to see if her text messages may have synced from her phone to Google? Of course not. Because they're not going to go through all that trouble to try to provide us with all this documentation in order to prove to us that any of this murders or any of this cases actually happened. So let's say they had tried less invasive ways like resetting your Google password, looking in the cloud. They even have apps for iPhone where you can actually recover, third-party apps where you can recover your deleted data or your deleted text messages specifically. But they didn't bother to do that. In the discovery, and like I said, I made a video on it, and it has the page number in the discovery exactly and a screenshot of it. It says that the Northern Colorado Forensics Laboratory did not possess the technology to perform physical extractions on iPhones. So I did my research and I looked into mobile forensics, and I'm pretty savvy when it comes to mobile phones and that kind of thing. I'm not like an IT expert by all means, more than Matt Saylor. Matt Saylor, I'm beginning to think he's not even really an IT expert because he sucks. Sorry, Matthew. But he does. So it says the Northern Colorado Forensics Laboratory did not have the technology to perform physical extractions on iPhones. The problem with that is when, again, if those less invasive ways, like the cloud and the Google reset and the third-party apps attempts, if that fails, the only way to recover that deleted data, like the text messages, you have to perform a physical extraction on iPhones. However, they only performed an advanced logical. So there's a logical, an advanced logical, and a physical. They admitted in the discovery that they only performed an advanced logical because, for whatever reason, even though I've proved in my video that they indeed do spend money yearly on mobile forensics. I found the receipts for them, and it's in the video. Being law enforcement and mobile forensics experts or trained in mobile forensics, they knew that that's the only way to recover it. They could have paid for the device, they could have contacted Celebrate. They could have contacted another department and said, hey, look, we're dealing with a quadruple homicide case here. We got to get these text messages from this chick's phone, right? Nope, they didn't do it. You don't even have to be in law enforcement or work for Celebrate. You can actually buy one of those devices from eBay and third-party websites. Now they're expensive. They can be anywhere from $2,500 to $10,000 and up. However, what's a couple of $1,000s for trying to figure out and get justice for 4 victims based off the official narrative? So they use this bullshit excuse that they didn't have the technology to perform those physical extractions. So that's why we, the public, did not get any of Nicole Kessinger's text messages or Chris's. Now, we did get those screenshots that were like, oh, yeah, you want to come over have a nightcap with ice cream and pizza? Very pedophilia-like. Not going to lie. And the empanada and the just completely pointless text messages that have no relevance whatsoever. The ones that Nicole Kessinger said that she, when she switched her phones, which she should never have got her phone back in the first place from the first interview, and allow her to, for almost a month, go and use her phone and potentially get those text messages deleted where it would overwrite it because she was using her phone so much. She should never have got that phone back until they got what they needed out of that phone. So instead, they're like, hey, here's your phone back, Nicole Kessinger, sweetheart. A month later, Kobach says, hey, do you think you could come in to the department and we're going to do Celebrate this time instead of XRY to see if we can get more data? Well, that's fucking pointless, Kobach, because now it's probably overwritten. It's stuff like that, red flags that it's just another thing to add to the list of why I believe, or no, actually, I'm not even going to say I believe, I know that this case was orchestrated to push multiple agendas. So whether or not they just, let's say that this case is real and they lied and just said, hey, we didn't have it because it's some sort of cover-up and that's why they didn't provide the text messages, or whether it is orchestrated, either way, they've lied about that, and that's huge. That's a huge, huge discrepancy. And everybody should be asking why. And if they can lie about that, then what else have they lied about? And all the other things that they've lied about in this case. If they've lied about those, how much higher or how much more, again, have they lied about? And could they have lied about the entire thing? And the reason why it's possible that they could have lied about the entire thing is because they can legally do it. They didn't have to go by the books with anything in this case, because they can legally do it. The Smith Modernization Act of 2012 made it legal for the mainstream media and the U.S. government to push propaganda and lie to the public legally. Now, whether that be the media lying about a small town, something, whatever they want to lie about, something small in like a local little town, just to push some sort of agenda or just to cause a distraction, or whether they want to go all the way up to orchestrating an entire quadruple homicide case. They can legally do it. That's why Chris didn't have to give a factual basis. That's why the crime scene was released within like 48 hours. That's why Chris didn't ask for a lawyer. That's why he's supposed to have a 140 IQ, but he left a rake and 2 trash bags and took the bodies out supposedly in the front of his house. Like, hello. That's why the crime scene at Survey 319 looks completely staged. Like, hey, no one else could have done it except for Chris Watts because, I mean, the idiot left a freaking rake handle sticking out of the ground. And somehow he worked miracles and got 2 toddlers to fit in 8-inch holes when Cece is 11.5 inches at her widest point. And I don't care, you can say if you put their hands up, they're smaller. No, it's not. That's not the case. I mean, you're talking about fitting a square peg into a round hole, or whatever that saying is. So again, it's not that I don't want to explain my theory. Of course, that's why I'm here. That's why I'm doing this. That's why I've been doing it for almost 3 years now, because I do want to answer questions. It's just very, very difficult based on the amount of information that I do have and that I have put out in, you know, this last couple of years, in just in a nutshell, pretty much. I mean, I could probably do it, but maybe I'll write it down one time and just have it, so that way, if anybody asks me, I'll have it. So, like I said, I did make 2 videos, one straight to the point and one that goes more technically into the fact that why, because everyone goes, why didn't we get Nicole, why weren't they recovered? Why weren't Nicole Kessinger's text messages recovered? Why? There's 2 videos that I made that explain why they didn't get those text messages, and that they very well could have. So they're full of shit. Because all Kobach said was, oh, we really need to get those text messages. Well, then if you really wanted them, you would have got them. But they don't have to provide that information to us in order to convince the majority of people that this case actually really happened. And if everybody just believed my theory, or saw, or was able to just go, oh yeah, like within one live stream and go, yep, I totally see it, Megan, then this wouldn't be a very good psyop. That's how great these psyops are, is because, again, the majority of people will just believe everything that they're told by law enforcement and the mainstream media. And those are actually, or the government, those are the last groups of people that you should be listening to. Listen to, you know, listen to your own mind. Ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. And let somebody earn your trust. Don't, like, instead of the other way around. Again, I'm not here to sway anyone's opinions. I'm only giving you guys the information that I have learned over the years that's allowed me to be able to spot the deception and the lies in a lot of these orchestrated events. So I'm just giving you what I've learned, and what you want to do with that information is on you guys. That's all I can do. Because I'm not here, again, to sway any opinions. It's not the way I want it to work. So, sorry that I paused the video. We'll continue, and then I'll probably end this live stream. Okay. And I'm sorry I can't see the chat because I'm ranting.
Best way I can answer that.
Two people that did a great job covering the Las Vegas shooting were Paladin and Mr. Burgundy. The following clip is the two of them talking about the Las Vegas shooting.
Indicative of the media nowadays. It's just like these releases. We're not getting what we should be getting, and the people who are in the lawsuit, which are the media, they're the plaintiff in the case against LVMPD to get the releases. They should be the ones that have gone back to court and say, "Hey, judge, we are not getting what you ordered us to get." But they're not, and I don't even think they're reporting on it anymore. I mean, I think they did initially, but anytime they did report on it, it was maybe a 15 or 30-second blip on the 6 o'clock news, and it was basically something that went along with the narrative. And I know people sometimes don't hate to hear that termed that way, but I don't know how else to term it. I don't know what else you call it. But anyway, yeah, and so they're not doing their job either, in my opinion. They should be the ones going back to court saying, "Hey, judge, we are not getting what we're supposed to get."
Well, you brought up an interesting point, because I've often wondered that. So, as we know, we all feel like, they're under court order to release all evidence in this case. So, who is it that's really going to, to be able to, who's going to call their shit on this?
It's very discouraging.
Very much
We're trying to get evidence, and they're manipulating it to only give us what they want us to see, as opposed to what the law requires them to provide to us. And that's that's disheartening to me.
Right. I couldn't agree more with you.
Are you starting to see the similarities yet? As Paladin just stated, they only So exactly what Paladin and Burgundy are saying right there is, why isn't the mainstream media recognizing all these red flags? Why is it only people in social media or in the true crime community? Why is it that they're the only ones that are recognizing all these red flags in the case and the inconsistencies? The reason why is because the mainstream media, their only job is to push that official narrative and to get it out to as many people as possible at the very beginning. That's why we haven't seen the mainstream media cover this case in I don't know how long. Because clearly, there are inconsistencies in this case. It's only in social media, in the true crime community, to where people are asking all these questions. And if there's so many unanswered questions and so many inconsistencies, then again, why is the mainstream media not filing FOIA requests and not demanding this information, and not asking, law enforcement why this doesn't add up? It's because they are part of it. Mainstream media is a part of it, and again, their only job is to push that official narrative into our brains and to make it mainstream. And that's why I show a lot of clips from the Las Vegas shooting, because they're so very, very similar. And that's another reason why I was able to spot this case for what it really is, because of all the similarities compared to the two, to the Watts case and to the Las Vegas shooting. Even though both tragic, obviously both tragic, but one was a mass shooting and one is a family familicide or homicide. And because of that, because I know about the red flags and these characteristics, again, once you know about them, you will be able to spot them fairly easily. And there's some to the point where it's just laughable. But again, the majority of people, and I keep saying but again, the majority of people will just believe it simply because they're told, when it should be the opposite. People should be asking questions and let the mainstream media and law enforcement and the government prove what they're saying. Release what they want us to see and what fits the official narrative. They do this on purpose, and it ultimately sends everyone into a state of confusion. With all the information released, why do we have hardly any answers? In the Watts case, they released an almost 2,000-page discovery. However, most of it is duplicate information, many of the pages only have a few sentences on them, and there are over 200 pages of letters that people sent to Chris in prison. Why were these letters even put in the discovery in the first place, considering they have nothing to do with the investigation itself? In the Las Vegas shooting, Stephen Paddock's internet search history was vague and conveniently fit the official narrative. Kristen Kessinger's internet searches were vague as well, with nothing in between and with almost no explanation for them. Once the storyline is set, other questions or opinions are ignored, and anything that slightly contradicts the official narrative is not considered legitimate. Mistakes are bound to happen, and when they do, the story will change or new information will come out in order to strengthen the official narrative. The more horrific and shocking the crime is, the less likely people will question its authenticity. And those who dare speak up are accused of being crazy, a conspiracy theorist, insensitive, and a terrible human being. And what's more horrific than killing innocent concertgoers or murdering your wife and children and dumping their bodies, similar to the way a person always throws away their sacked lunch. This is a great strategy because I am, or at least I was, one of those people. Not because I was afraid of being called crazy or a conspiracy theorist. That doesn't bother me. I was more worried about hurting or offending people who may have been affected emotionally from the case. However, there are some that are not afraid to speak up when they begin to notice a string of inconsistencies in a narrative. In the Watts case, people began to question where the vivid doorbell footage was of Shanann coming home from her trip from Arizona. The footage should have been included with the discovery, however, it wasn't released until people began to question its existence. Then there's a letter Chris wrote and gave to his sister that came out, possibly to substantiate Chris accusing Shanann of killing the girls. People began to question why Chris searched for that.
People who would tell us, and who do tell us, you need to look into Nikki more, Nikki Kissinger. All the way from the extreme end of things being Nikki's the one who ordered the hit.
She was there, I'm in the basement.
She was there. So the extreme is she's the one who told Chris to do it. She's the real problem. All the way, that's That's the extreme side. And then all the way to, well, there were these texts where she was infatuated, she was in love, she was saying how good Chris was in the sack, and maybe we should look at her more. What would you say to those people?
Why would veteran law enforcement agents need to ask a convicted murderer for advice about investigating someone connected to the case? I believe this was their strange way of attempting to convince people on social media that Kessinger had no involvement in their murders. Once again, it goes against the official narrative that Chris, and only Chris, killed his wife and children. At the end of the interview, Tammy Lee asks if she can take a picture of Chris and assures him that she will not release it to the public. Chris allows Tammy to take his picture, and although she promises not to release it, she does it anyway. But why would Tammy do this? It just so happens this was also around the time people started to question if Chris was really in prison, because he isn't listed as an inmate at Dodge Correctional or any other prison for that matter. The Las Vegas shooting documents, such as body cam footage, witness and officer statements, 911 calls, etc., were released in a number of what they called batches over the course of a year. As for the Watts case, there was Discovery Number 1, Discovery Number 2, the doorbell footage of Shanann, more photos of Chris and Kessinger, and the creepy giggle voicemail that Kessinger left for Chris. All of these should have been released with the discovery in the beginning. If the mainstream media immediately pushes the official narrative and the story becomes national news, this is a big red flag. Chris giving the news interviews on his porch was a perfect way to get the media involved, and if the suspect doesn't fit the profile, this is another red flag. The Las Vegas shooter, Stephen Paddock, did not fit the profile of a mass shooter. Friends, family, and anyone else who knew him described him as quiet, and he mainly kept to himself.
Down well more than 1,000 leads in this investigation. While some of it has helped create a better profile into the madness of this suspect, we do not still have a clear motive or reason why. I can assure you that we are aware of all aspects of this case, to include the rumor, innuendo, and supposition by many in the public. And I get it. We all want answers. In the past, terror attacks or mass...
Look at this creep. Ugh. He's such a creep. You can't see my mouse because I have it turned off. But Rouse to the here on the right. Ugh. He's such a creep. I was staring at him like, don't mess up, dude. You know what you're supposed to say, right? So what there's, I'm pointing this out with the Las Vegas shooting because, again, it's I saw the same thing with the Vegas shooting that I saw with the Watts case. Not all the time, but a lot of the time, they will not give us a motive as to why these certain individuals who commit these acts, like mass shootings, school shootings, terrorist attacks, again, not all the time, but the majority of the time. And with Chris Watts, they won't give us a motive, because with a motive, it gives us closure. It gives us some sort of understanding as to why this person did what they did, whether it be psychological reasons, something in their past, money, political affiliation, or whatever, right? So here the LVMPD is saying, hey, we can't figure out a motive. We waited, I don't know how long. I'm sure Michelle will know the answer to this question because Michelle followed the Las Vegas shooting very extensively as well. We were waiting for a while to get a separate report from the FBI into possibly a motive as to why Paddock did what he did. That FBI report was 3 pages long, and there was no motive. And we're talking about the biggest mass shooting in U.S. history, right? With 58 people, based off the official narrative, dying. And they couldn't even find a motive. And all the inconsistencies, the amount of information released. But the reason why, again, they don't give us a motive is because it would give us closure. In regards to the Watts case, they didn't give us a motive for Chris because they want people to think that if someone like Chris Watts, who everybody that knew him, right? All the people that were interviewed in this case, all his coworkers, his friends, family, even his in-laws said how great of a husband he was. or is, how a great of a father he was. He wouldn't hurt a fly. He had no psychological issues as far as we know. We don't know if he got a psychological evaluation. Even if he did, if they told us that, I wouldn't believe it. Okay? That's what I'm saying. It's like we're just believing everything based off what we're told. So, but everybody had the was a part of this narrative, had nothing but good things to say about him. Great coworker, always on time. Again, wouldn't hurt a fly. So if someone like Chris Watts can just up in one day murder his entire family for a woman that he knew for barely 2 months, no, prior signs of violence. If someone like Chris Watts can do that, then what's stopping it from, or what's stopping your significant other, your husband, your wife, your close family member, anybody close to you that you trust with your life, what's stopping them from doing the same thing to you? If someone like Chris Watts can do that, the all-around family man who, again, was all we see in videos is how great of a father he is. It's done like that on purpose, and that's a big part of the psychological bullshit of it. Because, again, it would give us some sort of closure. Because usually, for the most part, there is some sort of motive. There is some sort of explanation or reason as to why certain individuals commit such heinous acts. There's some sort of, for the most part, explanation for it. And of course, they have to throw in, like, the mistress, the affair, little tidbits, right? The bankruptcy, all the medical bills, the debt, the fact that whether anyone wants to admit it or not, on the video, Shanann could be a little bit controlling, and Nicole Kessinger says, "Oh, he was an introvert," so that maybe meant that he had all this built-up anger, and that could have caused it. So they have to give us those little pieces of motive, right? Because if they didn't, it wouldn't be believable at all, right? There'd be no way that anybody would believe that this would be possible, just based off of just without those little motives. So they had to throw those in there to make it believable. But they never did give us an actual definitive motive as to why Chris would be capable, someone like him would be capable of doing what he did when everybody had nothing but great things to say about him. So again, it's not all the time where they won't give us a motive, but I've seen it a lot where they don't give us a definitive motive as to why they did what they did.
Murder incidents, motive was made very clear in most of those cases, by a note that was left, by a social media post, by a telephone call that was made, by investigators mining computer data. Today, in our investigation, we don't have any of that uncovered. I wish we did. We will and are continuing to investigate with great tenacity and hope to arrive at an answer.
Chris Watts did not fit the profile of a family annihilator. Everyone who knew him described him as being the shy, quiet type, that he was a good husband and an amazing father.
Can you talk about what you think the motive was, or the reason for a seemingly normal father to do something so horrific?
Like I said this morning, I think that based upon his Google searches, his cell phone searches, some of the things that he was doing while Shanann and the girls were in North Carolina, I think it became pretty obvious that he found a new love interest. And for whatever reason in his mind, divorce wasn't an option. I can't speak as to why anyone would take the steps that he did, but during the course of our investigation, other than the normal stressors of financial stress that I think most of us have, the occasional marital stress, we couldn't find anything else that was a significant enough motive to annihilate your family in the manner that he did.
Another red flag to look out for is predictive programming or foreknowledge prior to the event. A great example of predictive programming is with 9/11. The amount of programming used prior to 9/11 is overwhelming. Some may argue that the Twin Towers were well-known buildings and were extremely tall, so it makes sense that a lot of movies and TV shows would show planes flying into the towers or the buildings. but there are some examples that are just too accurate to be considered coincidental.
You're saying our government plans to commit a terrorist act against a domestic airline?
There you go. Indicting the entire government as usual. It's a faction. A small faction.
For what possible gain?
The Cold War's over, John. But with no clear enemy to stockpile against, the arms market's flat. But bring down a fully loaded 727 into the middle of New York City, and you'll find a dozen tin pot dictators all over the world just clamoring to take responsibility and begging to be smart bombed.
I can't believe it. This is about increasing arms sales. When?
Tonight?
Manual override.
We also have the American Horror Story trailer that appeared on HTV that practically mirrored the case. I can assure you that this was not by chance. It was deliberately put there for us to see.
Diesel. Yeah, I thought nothing.
Nothing for the rest of the day.
No, that's it. She's pregnant as well.
How far along?
14, 15 weeks. That's why her friend said it was low blood sugar. She's pregnant as well. She's pregnant as well.
This is one of the strangest moments in the case, in my opinion. Was this another line in Chris's script? Unbeknownst to many, the predictive programming starts as far back as Season 1 and continues throughout the entire anthology. I have made a total of 6 videos covering this predictive programming. One question I get a lot is, what is the point of predictive programming? It's been said that the people that orchestrate these events use predictive programming because they believe in karma. They think that if they leave us hints before they carry out the plans and we're too stupid to realize or notice the clues, then that's our own fault. Therefore, they will not have any bad karma on their hands. Another theory is that they are using subliminal messages to subconsciously condition us so that when the event happens, we are prepared for it and won't find it ridiculous or unbelievable. Let's not forget that Blackstone, a company that is well known for being corrupted, owns Vivint and also has shares with Anadarko and 21st Century Fox. At the time of the murders, 21st Century Fox owned the FX network that airs American Horror Story, until Disney bought them out in March of 2018. If evidence is destroyed, ends up missing, or the investigative work appears to be lacking, it is another red flag to look out for. With the Las Vegas shooting, the concert grounds were never treated as a crime scene and they were immediately cleaned up and evidence was thrown out and removed. Stephen Paddock's body was cremated roughly 3 months after the shooting and while the investigation was still open. This also happened with 9/11 when the debris from the towers was immediately cleaned up and sent to China before any testing could be done. Chris's work truck that was used to allegedly transport the bodies of his victims before disposing of them was auctioned off soon after the murders. The Watts house was never treated as a crime scene and people were allowed to walk in and out of the house as they pleased, such as police, lawyers, news reporters, friends, and family. Officer Coonrod should never let Chris, Nicole Atkinson, her son Nicholas, or her daughter Madison in the house, period. Officers never know what they could be walking into. What if there was an intruder inside, or God forbid Shanann or the girls were deceased and Nicole Atkinson's daughter found them first? She would have been absolutely traumatized. It's also strange that no one called out for Shanann and the girls. You also have sketchy dog handlers that didn't appear to know what they were doing or purposely caused their dog to give misleading hits. This was done on purpose to mislead because nobody was killed in the house. Ring doorbells, Vivint Inc., and Lavelle had a ton of free publicity throughout the case. Google and YouTube, Dr. Phil, Dr. Oz, Lifetime, Oxygen, Reels, Discovery, all benefited. Around the same time Chris allegedly committed the murders, Anadarko and the oil and gas companies were close to losing billions of dollars if Proposition 112 passed.
When fracking comes to a city, it puts our health and safety at risk. With over 1,200 peer-reviewed research articles, the increased risk of asthma, birth defects, and cancer are well documented. In Colorado, fracking wells can be drilled within 500 feet of homes and 1,000 feet from school buildings. Aside from the health issues, these wells are loud, unsightly, and dangerous. Let's keep our neighborhoods safe and increase the buffer zone to 2,500 feet. Vote yes on Proposition 112 for safer setbacks from fracking. Donate now at coloradorising.org.
Here is what Proposition 112 would do to the already limited surface locations in Colorado. All of the red-shaded areas are now off-limits from future drilling, just from the 2,500-foot town and housing development setbacks. Here you can see the effect of increasing the house and occupied structure setback to Proposition 112 standard. As you can see, a 2,500-foot setback for every house virtually takes away all available surface locations in the region. Streams, rivers, lakes, wetlands, and now even drainages, which is a very general term, will have 2,500-foot setbacks. Even if an area is not heavily populated, drainages and areas deemed vulnerable by Proposition 112 will virtually ban the majority of future drilling locations throughout the state. All of the additional current regulatory setbacks will also still be in place. As you can see, no drillable surface locations exist on the map, meaning that the private property and rights of mineral owners have effectively been taken away without compensation.
Another reason for all of this could be an attempt to take away our free speech. Not once, but twice, the root checks have asked people to stop talking about the case, yet they purposely go on social media and engage themselves with channels. All this does is add fuel to the fire and ultimately makes people talk about the case more. Okay, so that's just some of the red flags. So that I came out with that video, gosh, over a year ago. Let's see. April 30th, 2020. So, my theory and opinions on this case definitely have not changed since then. They've never changed. But there's been a lot more that I have uncovered and videos that I've made about it, as far as that goes. So, even then, when I made this video, I was saying that they're gonna take away our free speech, free speech. Why do I always get in a southern accent when I'm doing these late night streams? I gotta go. No, but I just heard the replay. That's funny. Okay, free speech. Little did you guys know I'm Southern. I've been Southern this whole time. Southern gal. I think that's what that was. Anyway, what was I saying? That it's an attempt to take away our free speech off of social media. That's why the Ruseks are engaging themselves so much and contradicting themselves by saying, oh, we're getting death threats and we want people to stop talking about the case, so we try to stay off social media, but they're doing the exact opposite. They're actually engaging in it, and not only in social media, but the true crime community. So I'm sorry, victim or no victim, I'm gonna call you out on your contradictions, and people can call me heartless or whatever. I really don't care. I'm not here because I care what people think. I'm here to expose the truth of this case because it has to do, what they're doing is going to affect not only myself, but you guys as well. And I'm telling you, it might not be tomorrow, but you guys are going to wake up one day and you're not going to be able to talk about your favorite true crime cases because they're pushing that agenda. One of the biggest things with true crime is definitely fear. They want us to always be in fear. So they want you to think that if someone like Chris Watts, as I mentioned earlier, can do it, then your husband can do it. They want you to think that if someone like Aiden Fucci, a 14-year-old boy, can stab Tristan Bailey 114 times, this little wimpy kid, then your 14-year-old son can do it, or your 14-year-old daughter can do it. They're pushing fear and agendas and whatever with these high-profile true crime cases. Why is it that some cases get more attention, high-profile attention, than others? When there's so many kids that go missing every day, there's murders that happen all the time. I'm definitely not saying that murder is fake. That would be ridiculous. What I'm saying is there are only certain cases that get so much mainstream media attention. And I'm also not questioning the ones that add up and don't have inconsistencies. I'm questioning the ones that do have those red flags and inconsistencies. And I have every right to ask why shit doesn't add up, as well as everybody else. They also want you to think that, law enforcement and the government are the only ones you can trust, and that's just simply not the case at all. But fear is a major, major agenda in this. 100%. Again, the best way to control people is with fear. So, and again, it's not that I don't want to answer questions or speak about my theory. I've been actually a lot more transparent in my the last couple of months than I have been in, the last 2 years, because I was so worried about hurting other people's feelings or that have been affected by it. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. Unfortunately, I can't worry about that anymore. It's about exposing the truth in this case. My channel is not monetized. I do put with the not Tidy Labs, that's D-Live, but with the Streamlabs, I do put a lot of time and effort into these live streams and when I did upload videos. So of course I do ask for donations, but I'm not making money off of ads, or I've never had this channel monetized ever, because that's not what I'm here for. I am here to get the truth out there about this case, and I'm so confident in what I'm saying, even though it might not seem like that, because I'm not the best speaker. And I know that you guys are going to give me some of you in the chat are going to give me a hard time and say, don't be so hard on yourself, but I know I'm not. I know I'm not the best speaker, but I think that that's maybe a good thing. Because again, I don't want to sway anyone's opinions. I don't want to be that person who just says all the right things, or I'm dramatic and says this and that in order to convince you guys. I want to give you, again, the information that I've learned over the years from other people who are exposing these orchestrated events and pointing out the symbolism in plain sight and the red flags and the agendas behind these tragic events. And whatever you guys want to do with that information, again, that's on you guys. I can't do everything for you. I can only give you and teach you what I've learned the best way I know how. So, again, I'm doing my best, and, thankfully I haven't had too many trolls or too many attacks. But there's going to be a lot of people where it doesn't matter what I say or how much evidence I show. There's going to be people where I'm never going to be able to make them see or convince them of the corruption in this world. It's impossible. They're going to want to live in their bubbles for the rest of their lives, and that's fine. But unfortunately, those are the ones that are going to ruin it for the rest of us. Those are the ones that are going to be demanding that things be done, that something be done about these mass shootings and school shootings and these victims being harassed. They're the ones that are going to beg, literally, for their rights to get taken away with that Hegelian dialectic problem reaction solution. They've been using it for years, and it works. It really does. And they're going to be the ones that are going to wake up one day and go, what do you mean I can't own a gun? What do you mean I can't talk about my favorite true crime case? Or I can't accuse Nicole Kessinger anymore of being a murderer. I can't question law enforcement in these true crime cases because it's conflicting with the investigation, quote unquote. Those are going to be the ones that are going to wake up and ask that, when they're the ones, bless their hearts, thinking that they're actually doing something beneficial for society when they were the ones who actually literally begged for their rights to get taken away. And I'm not being dramatic. The minute I saw Frank Rusek stand in front of the Watts home, whether it be in front of a green screen or actually fly out to Colorado because he felt it necessary to do it, and start pointing fingers at these big social media platforms for allowing so-called abuse and harassment against the victims' family members, even though there's no evidence to back that up, I immediately got the feeling that that was one of the agendas in this case, to take away social media. And it's always going to be some sort of law being passed under our noses or some sort of rights being taken away. Because again, they can't just come out and tell the public, hey, we're going to take away these rights that you've had as Americans. I don't know about other countries. I'm sure they're using the Hegelian dialectic as well. But as Americans, they can't just come out and say, we're going to take your rights away. That would never work, and they know that. So they have to use that problem, reaction, solution to trick us. And that's why when anyone asks me, why would they go through the trouble of orchestrating all this, of doing all this? There's multiple agendas. Money, fear, passing laws, bills, and taking away rights. Fear. Did I say fear already? Because that's a huge one. So, on that note, I'm going to end this. I'm sorry again, I couldn't pay attention to the chat, but I did want to play that video. I know it's an old video, but it does go over a lot of like my theory for the most part. So, and I'm gonna keep just if I have to put on the screen all these red flags and just list them out for you guys. Like I said before, like write them down and remember them like Chris Watts with your photographic memory that he supposedly has, but he can't remember anything. Write them down and put them in your phone. Take a screenshot. I don't care, but for the most part, they will all you're going to find multiple of those red flags or those characteristics in these orchestrated events. And again, they're not going to all be the same. Maybe with the Daybell case, the Lori and Chad Daybell case, there's supposedly a trial that's going to happen, right? Doesn't mean if there's not a trial that it's automatically orchestrated. It's when you start to see multiple of these characteristics and these red flags, that's when you're going to want to take a step back and look at everything from a different perspective and try as best as you can to not let your emotions get in the way, because they're going to cloud you from seeing facts and seeing things for what they really are. And that's why, again, like I said in the video, that's why they make these cases so horrific, so that people they just react. They don't think logically. They just react with their emotions and say like, oh my God, this is horrible. And again, all logic goes out the window. So, again, I can only do so much and just give you this information that I've learned and direct you to other channels. Please check out my DLive channel. I do play a lot of videos from other content creators who have actually been banned from YouTube for speaking about the same things that I am, but just not in true crime. So again, with your terrorist attacks and your mass shootings and your school shootings and Capitol riots or whatever. But I can't play those videos on YouTube. I just can't. So if you are interested more in my theory and more about these orchestrated events and want to learn more about them without having to actually research them, because I know where to find a lot of this information that has been scrubbed. You have to look. It's there, but you're not going to find it on YouTube. You might find some 9/11 stuff and some moon landing stuff, but you're not going to find any Mandy Book shooting stuff. You're not going to find Pulse. You're not going to find Vegas shooting. All you're going to find is mainstream media coverage of these orchestrated tragic events. You're not going to find anything that goes against the official narrative because it's been scrubbed. So I will put my DLive link in the chat and I'll pin it at the top. Please check out Michelle Frost's channel. I know she posted a link. Michelle, if you want to post it again, please do. And also, I'll try to post Melissa Jade. I really respect what Melissa Jade is doing. I always enjoy her live streams. She covers conspiracy theories, things that I enjoy researching and talking about. She just covered the Gosh case. I think did I say that right? Where the kid to go missing, the Johnny Gosh case on the milk carton. She's done the moon landing. She's done adrenochrome. She's done a lot over the last couple of weeks. So I highly encourage you to go check out her channel. And if you like the content, then subscribe. If you don't, then don't. So thanks everyone for being here. I really appreciate it. And I'll try to do these more because apparently this is the only place I have a voice anymore. So as sad as that sounds, but I will see you all next time. And I know this is cheesy, but ask questions and please think for yourself. It's so important. Okay, bye.